because we are a country of innovators and we take pride in calling ourselves innovators, what we do, we'll write our own very optimized proprietary protocol. And you think that by doing this, you are developing a patent, IP and all that. It does not help you in to proliferate in the ecosystem. So what is important is coming up with a common harmonized set of standards which you all can leverage, all the developers, product, system, solution, vendors can leverage and then have interoperability, end-to-end device-level interoperability to open up the market. When we talk about smart cities, so, you know, smart cities is about infrastructure, critical infrastructure, which are owned by basically the state-owned infrastructure, whether cities, state government or central government, the infrastructure. So there is, you know, there are tenders for that. And tenders, there has to be device interoperability. So unless we have some holistic, comprehensive, as well as granular standards in place, you know, this device-level interoperability will not come in unless the vendors start following those standards, as and when they are in place. They will not be able to have a major breakthrough in the business aspects. So we are working on some standards in Bureau of Indian Standards. So some of the members are, they are all members of our committee, and I'm chairing this committee. We call it Smart Infrastructure Sectional Committee, where we are defining a unified last mile communication protocol where multiple technologies can coexist together with a unified stack. We are defining standards for gateways, even at the cloud level, how the data will interoperate, the data semantics, standardizing data semantics at the device and sensor level, standardizing data models at the cloud level, opening up standardized APIs as Subbu mentioned just now. Okay, and all the whole set of this thing that will help the IoT ecosystem proliferate. So I think I'll stop right now at this. And now, since I'm talking about standards, I would like to take a shot at Shailendra from Microsoft. How do you look at the dynamics of platformization vis-a-vis standardization?
So, very good point, Kishorji. So, again, what is happening is when you look at the overall industry, when they are trying to create a platform and when they are trying to adopt IoT, they still do not have a very well-defined standard. I'll take a common good example of that. Let's take security. Security is the #1 challenge when it comes to IoT, though it looks very undermined and people are not able to understand the problems associated with it. But today security is the prime factor when people should design IoT. That is my perspective. And when we look at security, again, there are no well-defined standards which people have to follow in order to design their products. And because of which, every organization, again, they look at best practice which is available and they try to adopt those best practices in their architecture. But in the lack of any standard or any, policy, how do you make sure that you are taking care of all the standards end to end, right? If there is a standard, if there is, let us say, a written document and a guidelines on how, let us say, a IoT architecture can take care of security, it will be very helpful for the enterprise to adopt those kind of, guidelines and make their architecture foolproof. So this is one thought which I thought, let me bring it to you.
Very right. So what you're trying to say in a way is, correct me if I'm wrong, is that standardization and platformization can go hand in hand. Absolutely. And come up with a holistic, much more comprehensive holistic framework for this thing. Subbu, what is
Absolutely.
your take on this?
While I agree that platformization and standardization can go hand in hand, but the work on the standardization is much more larger, right? The reason for that is, as we just discussed about security, right? If you talk about platformization, most of the platformization happens in the cloud and it is mostly software driven. Yeah. But there are a lot of other security and, which is all about how to onboard a device. We were talking about 2 billion devices, right? Today we are doing POCs in most of the cities with 500 devices, 1,000 devices. You can go to any city and see that, most of the smart cities are doing pilots and the numbers are like 500,000. Imagine if you have to manage 1 billion devices and you have to kind of go and pair each of the devices and say who is the owner. That would probably create a lot of work for us, which probably is interesting, but you don't want to do the menial job, right? You really don't want to do the menial job of pairing the device and making sure it is onboarded. Today with 500 devices, there are people running around doing it and continuously going and monitoring. They are receiving SMSs, going and fixing or probably switching on. you really want full automation. And in order to achieve that end-to-end automation, not only security, right, but you need to actually say how this message translates between a cloud platform to an edge platform or a gateway in between, and how it reaches and the actuation happens. And you need guarantees. You don't need non-repudiation is a key thing, right? If you have a sensor which sends a message and you are acting on it, you want to be sure that the sensor is not sending a message after 1 hour after caching it. People are implementing short-term stories for battery powering. If it's a battery-powered device, they actually cache if they don't have connectivity. But if the cloud is making decision, how do you know that a decision is being made based on the data that is coming in? So we have to look from the data angle, that is for sure. But while looking from the data angle, what we need to do is we need to have an end-to-end standardization which cuts across, and it needs to be per domain or per application level. Right? I think it will take time. Right now, what's happening is actually the standards are evolving in the platform area, but we need to go further so that we can trust what is coming and we can act digitally on the data that is coming in.
Thanks. Arushi, would like to take a shot on this?
Yeah, I feel from a standardization perspective, specifically for platforms, in India, for all the other industries, and I'm talking broader industries, whether it's semiconductors, components, we have certain associations which come together and collaborate and take some decisions and go to mighty for driving certain policy changes. I'm not sure if a similar organization exists for IoT, because IoT cuts across different domains, different industries. So there has to be greater collaboration between these IoT platform providers, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Oracle, SAP, or AWS. There has to be some level of collaboration, whether it's in India or globally, so that that thought of standardization has actually been driven.
So let me answer you one point before moving to PVG, is that yes, at MIT there's not been much work on there was a draft IoT policy long time back which never got into a proper IoT policy per se, but then there has been, MIT has focused on cloud interoperability. Okay, so cloud level interoperability, yes, platform level interoperability as of now, not yet, but yes, but there would be very few things that we need to understand that need interoperability. We don't need to, make Azure and AWS look same. No, we don't want. There has to be value addition of innovation from each organization, each platform creator. Okay, that will keep the ball rolling and the ecosystem moving, thriving with the new innovations and a lot of competition, which is healthy for the ecosystem. But all the same, macro level, yes. But since we are talking about MIT, PVG, you have been with them, dealing with them for last, what, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years. So what would you say?
So the point is, let's look at how policy evolves. Policy is always a laggard, right? The innovation happens from industry. It could be startups, it could be large companies which go out. I mean, you look at the kind of technology development that's happening. Most of you must have seen the news item of Google and Facebook setting up chip design teams in Bangalore. Who would think that a social media network company and a search engine company would be doing semiconductors? But that's where technology is headed. So second thing, some of us are on this, the Smart Infrastructure Committee. And if you look at the way Industry 4.0 is defined in Germany, it ends with automation. We have said in BIS, we've, it's not yet completed, but we've said we don't want an India-specific standard, we want an India-appropriate standard. What do we mean? We need the good parts of IoT, information flows, we need everyone on the signal chain to be empowered. But then let's not forget that India has a big MSME infrastructure. You need the MSMEs to be empowered. Putting a robot in there at the end, which is what the Germans, for example, who are among the major vendors of that solution, would like us to do, is not what is India appropriate. Is that a blanket statement to use? No, because if you look at certain very, very high technology projects which have requirements. So if you look at, we talked about semiconductor industry. If you look at how semiconductors are fabricated, the kind of requirements on the clean room are so stringent that you can't have people there.